Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Win the Day podcast. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you who is listening right now. Y'all mean the absolute world to me. Today, we are joined by my friend Mitch Webb. Mitch currently is a health coach in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. Mitch began his career in corporate sales before ultimately forming Mitch Webb Health Coaching. Today, Mitch offers a scientific approach that focuses on nutrition, sleep, stress management, exercise, and wellness. I'm excited to have Mitch on due to the incredible story that he has and has gone through, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. So, without any further ado, welcome to the podcast, brother. How are you today?
I'm good, Nico. Thank you for the warm welcome, my friend. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Very glad to have you on. I know we connected through the Content Canvas group that we were both put in. So I'm very happy that we connected through there and that you're able to come on and you reached out to me and we're doing this. I
Let's do it,
think
bro.
that your story is super inspiring and powerful. And I think that it can help a lot of people who are in, more of a lower place in their life and are trying to look to get their, spark back. So I guess to start this podcast off, tell me a little bit more about your story, where you kind of started and where you are now.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you for the opportunity to share. It's definitely been a journey, and I like to say, pain to purpose, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of times when we have adversities, it's real easy to get down on ourselves, to beat ourselves up. And what I've learned is to look at some of these dark moments, the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, as is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to grow, for you to change. And if you can embrace and befriend that pain, um, anything is possible. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, my journey started when I was about your age. I was 20 years old. I was traveling in Europe, a study abroad program. I was at the World Cup, drinking a lot, and fell out of a second story window, hit my head, and didn't tell anybody. I thought I was a
My
bad
gosh.
little boy, and I thought it was just a bad hangover. It turned out to be a traumatic brain injury, and not long after that, started having the side effects of experiencing trauma. So, that's anxiety, insomnia, some depression. I didn't have any of that before the accident, and it's like I couldn't go to sleep, and I just constantly had all this stress in my body, and that's what trauma is. And developed autoimmune disease, which I had like plaque psoriasis, these little like dry skin all over my entire body. That was really attractive going to school at the beach. Um, but yeah, so they gave me medications for both of those situations, which is very typical in the Western world. And I went about my way, man. And when I came out of school, still dealing with those symptoms and taking the medication, went into the corporate world, went into sales, and more stress, more pressure, more medication, less sleep. It was all, a vicious cycle. And I started to get better. I got really interested in like the paleo diet, started cleaning up, started getting processed foods out, started moving my body more, and we moved into a home that had mold in it, so black mold, and that's when things started getting a lot worse. So after about 3 months, couldn't sleep at all, couldn't fall asleep, couldn't stay asleep, was taking all kinds of medications and asking people for additional stuff on top of what I was already taking. And I thought that was normal. I thought, hey, I just need to throw some more meds at this. And when those stopped working, that's when I got really scared and I started looking for different answers. And lucky enough, I had a health coach that I had hired to help me. And, we, let's see, found the health coach to help me. And we were making changes and doing things to my gut. Like I had, what is it, like gluten intolerance, basically celiac disease and other things like that. And um, the sleep, it crippled me. And so I found myself in a functional medicine doctor, and they found out I had Lyme, I had mold, I had heavy metals, I was diabetic. I had a lot going on, and I really decided that I wanted things to be different. And so I started researching and guinea pigging myself and doing everything that I could to move the needle. The first thing I said that I found, that was the paleo diet. We can do so much with food. And, I saw a lot of benefit by taking the processed foods out, eating good, clean protein. And, if something has 5 ingredients or less, I kind of stayed away from it. I shopped the outsides of the grocery store. And if I couldn't kill it or grow it, that was pretty much, that's what I was eating. And it helped me a lot. The mold, the Lyme, heavy metals, diabetes. Yeah. So I eventually started working with Dr. Dan Pompa. He helped me detox the Lyme, the mold, the heavy metals. He helped me reverse the diabetes with a ketogenic diet at that point. And I got a lot better. I was really excited about health and wellness. I was miserable in the corporate world and I was looking for answers. So there's this chiropractor at the time. I just love what he did. He loved that he helped people and got to do what he loved. And we started chatting and I was like, how can I help people? Where do I enter this field of health and wellness? I have no idea what it is. And he's like, you're a health coach. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, you got a great story. You know a lot about nutrition and exercise. And that's what my practice was in the beginning. My business was just nutrition and exercise. So I left the corporate world. We linked up. I took my certification for being a health coach. I started training some people at his office and eventually moved to a bigger city. And when I did, I was going to see one of my first clients. I got hit by a dump truck. Okay, so that was my second TBI. I had post-concussion syndrome for like a year. I couldn't get out of bed. I went for more than like 15 minutes at a time. I went from exercising maybe 10 times a week to not being able to walk more than 15 minutes. Like it was a big deal. So at that point, mindset and then like meditation and healing from the inside out became a big thing for me, and healing some of the emotions and traumas that I'd been through. That came later. But so I had concussion, post-concussion syndrome for a year, and then I got better. I got long haul COVID before anybody knew what that was, and I got it 3 times. So it just
3 times.
3 times, and I had it for 3 years. So the last 3 years,
wow,
dealt with long haul COVID, and we're talking. I went down to 140 pounds. I couldn't eat. My digestion was terrible. My hormones were wrecked. Extreme fatigue and anxiety. I was miserable, and eventually healed from that. And the 3rd time wasn't that big a deal. But in this last year is when everything kind of flipped. That's why I'm able to sit on here and talk to you. I mean, I couldn't have done this a year ago. And it's because I started to dig into the trauma, into the the trauma that I was exposed to in childhood and, growing up, and also all these injuries and accidents and illnesses, and that all accumulates trauma. And so when I started to work on that stuff, combined with everything else that I've been doing for, almost 20 years, nutrition, exercise, mindset, really the unpacking the trauma was the thing. I think that was the root cause. And that's what I'm looking for when I'm working with my clients, is like, everybody's so individual. Everybody has different goals. A lot of times they come to me for weight loss, but that's really a side effect of what I do. I'm trying to understand what's their goal, and what's the obstacle that's in the way? What's the root? Like, you pull out the root, you pull out the weed, and ultimately that's how people get better. But in a society of, you should do this and you shouldn't do that, there's so many options, and misinformation and bullshit. Like, people don't know what to do.
Yeah, totally. I can kind of agree with that. I mean, your story is absolutely insane. Like, all of the trauma that you've been through is absolutely wild, man. And like, we're very grateful that you're well now, that you're here on this podcast. Very grateful. And like you said, there's so much, bullshit on the internet that social media and just everything online. There's just a saturation of, uninformative information. So how do people who are trying to look to get better, whether that be with their mindset or with just regular like health problems, how can people kind of like sift through all of the bullshit and get to the actual root cause that, you know, they need to fix?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, where to start? I mean, health, my definition of health has changed so and broadened over the years. Where do we start? We start where you're at. We start where with awareness of I'm in some kind of discomfort, pain, whatever it may be. So there's an awareness that I'm not happy with my current situation. I want better. And sometimes people don't even know what that goal is. So it's easy to start with, the opposite of what you don't want. It's easy, like, I don't want to, I don't know, be stressed out. I don't want to have anxiety. I don't want to carry all this extra weight. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be fatigued. I want to have energy. So you start there. And what I see a lot of people doing in the health industry is applying these cookie cutter protocols, like, or taking these influencers and what worked for me, and it's going to work for you. You got to try this keto thing or this carnivore thing or this detox or this medication, and really that's taking the power away from the individual. What I've learned is I want to give that power back by helping them listen to their bodies. Now that may be tough in the beginning, because when we have stress or trauma, or we get kind of disconnected from our body, it's hard to listen. Societal norms do that as well. To say, you want to be seen and not heard if you're a girl, or suck it up if you're a boy. And so we want to meet people where they're at. We want to understand with awareness, where are we at now? Where are we trying to go? And then from there, let's take one step at a time to get you out of that hole, right? And so, where does somebody start if they're in a bad place? I mean, I'm a big believer in hiring a professional, right? I mean, as cliche as that sounds, me being a coach, I'm going to say hire a coach. I had this conversation with my client today. It's like, for me, I like to master things that I'm interested in, and I know that that's going to take, 10,000 hours. It's going to take a lot of reps, a lot of time. I don't have that time to do that. So if I can get a professional that has mastered this already,
yeah,
just like I'm doing with my clients, I'm saving them time. So it took me 17 years to get to where I'm at now. I don't want to do that all over again. Can I do it in 6 months or do it in a year by hiring someone? And now not everyone can hire someone, but there's tons of books. There's tons for podcasts. I mean, even just going and talking to your doctor, it's all data. The more information you have and the better decision you can make, or the better you can respond to the situation when you have more data, versus like not making an educated guess and just trying everything that's out there and hurting yourself. That's kind of why I feel like that's my place in the health world, is to be that guy to hold people's hand. You can get lost with a map, but it's easier to get where you're going when you've got a map and a guide. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally, man. I can kind of relate to that, because for me, the past couple of years, I have struggled with acne, and that's like one thing that has like really drained my confidence and, really given me a lot of stress and anxiety. And the best thing that happened to me was going to the dermatologist. And before that, I had always refused to go, because I was like, I don't want to talk to a dermatologist. Like, that's embarrassing, all this kind of stuff. And like listened to like my parents' advice, and they're not dermatologists. So it was just kind of a shit show. And finally went to a dermatologist, and it's definitely cleared up. But I can definitely kind of relate to what you're saying. But back to a little bit on your story. So what motivated you to like not only take control of your health, but also start a business around that?
Man, I was suffering, and I didn't want to suffer anymore. I was your age, and I was like, man, this sucks now. Like, what's it going to be like at 30, 40, 50, 60? That didn't look good. And I just made a decision with a lot of intention that I'm not going to accept that, and I'm going to get better, right? And I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. And the reason what inspired me to become a coach is when I had Lyme disease, I was going to these doctors, and I would be in the office with a bunch of people that were really, really sick. I didn't ever even look up anything about Lyme, or I didn't want to know about it, because I saw how bad it was around me. And I knew I felt like I was in a little bit better shape than these people that I saw. I mean, I remember a guy coming in that was drooling on himself in a wheelchair and getting plugged up to an IV and started to get up and walk, and so these people were sitting in the waiting room together, and I felt like I was the only one that was getting better at the practice, and that's because I was trying everything. I was hitting it from a bunch of. I was definitely trying too much at the time, but I was fighting for my life, and they were like, "What are you doing? What's this and what's that?" And there was things that I was doing that hadn't really made it to the East Coast yet. Like a ketogenic diet was more of a West Coast thing. Certain supplements and healing modalities like, I don't know, red light therapy and infrared sauna and hyperbaric oxygen. I was doing all of this stuff. I had one in my house, a hyperbaric oxygen tank in my house. And I remember when I started feeling better, I just felt for these other people, and I wanted to help. They deserve that. Everybody, I feel like, deserves to be the healthiest version of ourselves. And it just sucks that our society and our food system and the way we've set things up are just the exact opposite of what the human body needs to thrive from a health standpoint. And so I started asking people, like, what's going on? What are you dealing with? What are your symptoms? And they would tell me, and I said, oh man, I felt that too. This really helped me. Here's my number. You can text me whenever you want to. Like, keep me posted on how it's going. Let me know if this thing that I'm recommending helps. And like, we can keep each other accountable and pump each other up and share our wins. And, if we have bad days, we can, be there for each other. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, I love that. Like whenever I was feeling really good, I would check in on my people and, I just love sharing. I saw that there was so much, kind of like we said, there's so much misinformation and BS everywhere that it was such a hard thing for me to figure out, because you would hear this is good from somebody and no, this is bad, and I just didn't know, right? Like I had to learn how to read labels, like buy food, cook food, get all the bad ingredients that are in my house, like toxic cleaning supplies and beauty products and all these things that we're just inundated with on a daily basis that just really sabotage our health. And so I wanted to take all that in. I just so much information, so many things that I learned and things that worked and didn't, and I wanted to share that with other people, and that's kind of how it happened, man.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's a great story right there. That's why you're on, and like could talk about this all day, but I completely agree with like what you're talking about, how like everything here in our society with like all the processed foods, there's a lot of people with mental health problems because they're in front of a screen all day. They don't go outside, all this kind of stuff. And that what really opened my eyes. So I took a trip to Italy with some of my buddies this about 2 years ago during the summer. And like the one big thing that really shocked me when I got there was the food and how fresh and delicious, and like how little preservatives and like the ingredients in the food there's not like 100 different ingredients. It's like 5 simple, fresh, locally grown ingredients. And like I remember we went to this pizza place, and it was called like Sorbello's or something like that. I forget, but they pretty much, each of us got a whole pie of pizza, and I swear we all ate it in like 10 minutes, and I could have eaten another one because of how soft the bread is. The cheese is not oily and none of that. And coming back to the US, it's just totally different. Like I can't eat 2 pies of pizza here from like
yeah, dude.
It is absolutely disgusting, and like it's just wild to me that our society has fallen or gone that route instead of actually realizing that we have a really serious problem, and like companies need to fix that. But
oh bro, don't get me started. Like I haven't been, I was supposed to, whenever COVID happened, we were literally scheduled to go to Greece for like 3 weeks. And the first time they had like lockdown, we were like, okay, this is going to last for like a week, right? Like we're going next week. And I cannot wait to go back. I think we're going to do that Italy trip or Greece trip, maybe both here soon. But like
Nice.
what's going on there, man, is like I have clients all the time that go overseas and their celiac, their gluten intolerance is not an issue. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
One, it's the wheat and the hybridization of wheat, and which is contains more gluten to produce more yields, so that it's more cost effective for the person that's supplying that. But it's also so the gluten goes up whenever you hybridize the wheat, like a GMO. You've heard of that.
Yep.
And but the big thing that people are missing is Roundup. So glyphosate is sprayed. It's legal everywhere in the United States, and there's definitely some lawsuits that you can look up and see some of that stuff. But they don't spray their wheat with Roundup overseas, and that's why people do so well with the food over there. So I'm jealous, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun trip. One of the greatest trips in my life. Hopefully we can do something like that again, but need to make a little bit of money first.
For
But
sure, dude. You got to do it.
yeah, so like we're talking about, many people are struggling with many different, health problems in their lifestyle. And my question to you is, how do you help your clients, create sustainable habits without resorting to, restrictive diets or like intense exercise routines? Because I feel like what people see online are all of these, like, you need to do this, you need to do this, and it like can honestly take a wrong turn if you're like overdoing it, or like if there's just like so much going into it and you're just like not really understanding what's going on. So how do you kind of just like help your clients in your company, in your business?
It's listening, it's asking good questions, it's getting them to sense into what's going to work for them. But like, these I used to do all the restrictive diets, dude. Like I've hurt myself in so many ways, and the reason they're out there is because they work, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like they're meant to work for like short periods of time and for certain specific situations. And what happens is well, these diets, let's say the ketogenic diet, like so much fantastic research behind the ketogenic diet and the benefits of what that can do for the brain and different disease states and fat burning and lowering inflammation. Like it's a fantastic tool, but we take that little bit of information and we say, hey, okay, I've got some of these situations. Like for me, it was great after having traumatic brain injuries to do a ketogenic diet. It was great when I had metabolic issues and diabetes, right? But what happens is people, they hear their success or they have success themselves and they think like, oh, they become dogmatic. They're like, oh, this is the
Yeah.
answer. This is the answer. And I'm going to be evangelical about this. I'm going to be exclusive to or inclusive to people that are into doing this, and people that aren't, I'm going to like push them away. Like they don't know what they're doing. And because this really helped me. And what they're doing is they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, yes, there are some good things that come from these restrictive diets, like a keto diet, a carnivore diet, a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, autoimmune diet. Like all these things have their place in their time. But if we don't understand where we are and where we're trying to go, and see the big picture, then we're going to get confused. We're going to hurt ourselves. We're going to rely on external sources to tell us what we should and shouldn't do. And shoulding is shitting on someone, right? So that's what I was doing, that as a health coach. I made a career of like, tell me what I should do, when really what I should be doing is asking better questions. What do you think you should do? What foods sound good to you? Like what? And that's what I do now. Like when I meet a client, it's tailored to the individual.
Yeah.
I've been on so many cookie cutter programs that a doctor, a practitioner came up with that work for these people, but that's not me, man. And so I'm trying to figure out my way up the mountain. And I think someone empowering or encouraging you to make your own decisions, it's a bit of a shift from what we see in the health world of like, take my product, do my exercise, do this restrictive diet. Why? If you can't tell me why and understand like why that would work for me and explain that to me like you're explaining it to a child, then I'm gonna I'm gonna be what word I'm trying to say, second guessing that at a high level. So it's just it's getting clear on our goal, where we're at now, what's in the way, and then step by step. Because what happens now, the first month of your program, things change, and so we're constantly adjusting to who's showing up today versus like
Yeah.
having some expectation or putting you in a box or a label that doesn't work for your unique situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, man. Let's say like, for example, you have a client who just does not really have a healthy lifestyle at all. They don't eat the right things. They don't go to the gym. They don't exercise. They are in front of a screen all day. They don't have good mental health. What are some like key strategies that people can incorporate into their lives to, optimize both their mental and physical health? Um,
Hmm.
just based on, stuff that you teach.
Well, I had a guy came to me last week, and he was telling me kind of a similar thing, not eating really good, not just had an unhealthy lifestyle. Like I work with a lot of people that are successful, they're professionals, they're owners, they're business owners,
Mm-hmm.
executives, that kind of thing. So what they've done is they've worked really hard to get where they're at in life, and they've got all these a great proof of that they've been successful, whether that's their family or their network, their career, their family, all that stuff, and they've neglected their health, and so they they've put all this time and energy into other things and they've neglected themselves. And so they're like, hey, I don't feel good. This guy was telling me when I eat certain foods, I just feel like crap afterwards and I don't get it. And so,
Yeah.
the first thing I did with him is it's going back to that awareness piece. It's like, okay, if we're going to go on this journey together, like I got to know what you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So like for 3 days, we had like a week before we met. I don't like to do any kind of food tracking every day. I feel like it's kind of counterproductive. It's really more about awareness. And just like write down what you're eating, man. Write down the food that you're eating, it doesn't have to be in an app or pretty, just take a notebook. And I ate, eggs this morning. I ate, a burger for lunch, whatever. And I started getting some of his preliminary information back, and I was like, hey, good news. I know why you feel like shit after you eat. It's because you're eating, really bad food. So that's the first thing we did. That was his main goal. Like asking good questions, the client is going to tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So like they may not know the specifics, but they know what's going on. So the more we talk about it, the better questions I ask. I know that's not giving you like a structure or a specific tool. It's just listening. It's not really sexy, but it's just really hearing your client and where they're at. And based on my, experience, it tells me where to start. And so with this guy, I'm feeling gross when I eat. Right off there, hey, we need to talk about nutrition. That's what's going to get him the biggest win. And what happens with that is I call, hey, guess what? Good news. I'm like, do you want the good news or the bad news? He's like, the good news. I was like, good news is I know exactly why you feel like shit when you're eating like this. And I was like, what's the
Yeah.
bad news? I'm like, you got to change some things. So that's not really the bad news, and it's not eating like diet food. We're not eating restrictive, gross food. I mean, the food that you eat you should get excited about it. And so after I talked to him again today, we've been working together for about 3 to 4 weeks, and he's like, dude, I have no more bloating. I've lost 4 pounds, and that's Thanksgiving happened during that. And he's like, I'm eating 4 times the amount of food that I was before. I can't believe that I'm feeling this much better. And his natural next question, I'm like, all right, cool. So what do we need to do next? And he's like, man, I really I want to start moving and get exercising. Perfect. So that's a great um, demonstration of him listening to his body and telling me what he
Mm-hmm.
needs. Now, if
Yeah.
somebody's not there and they can't do that yet, well, that's what I'm here for, to offer suggestions. And I would even offer up like 4 or 5 things and say, like, what sounds good to you? Oh, well, that sounds good to me. Sometimes they want to say, oh, you tell me, you tell me. I'm like, this is not about me. This is about creating a program that works for you and a lifestyle. This isn't a quick fix or a diet or a one size cookie cutter fits all program. This is your
Mm-hmm.
program. And so that's going to look different than anybody else's. And so I lead by example. I hold their hand, and then I help them get in touch with what their body needs.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How can people in a situation like that, Does your program provide like tracking systems so people can like track their progress and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's one of the first
Yeah.
things we do is like baseline metrics. You're going to weigh, you're going to take some pictures. If it's and it's really what people are into. You said my program, it's their program.
Yeah.
It's what they want to do. Hey, does like I have this question. Hey, we're gonna look at some food for a period of time. Do you wrote your food down for a week? Was that a pain in the ass, or did you really like that? Some people are like, oh man, it keeps me accountable. I can see it. I know you're going to be looking at it. And so yeah, I've got an app that I can plug in all their food. I can I can give them recipes and see what they're doing, and they can ask me questions, and they can scan barcodes, and they know what they're eating. And it's just how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Like, how much of this stuff do you want to implement into your life? Because I think it's about keeping it simple. But if
Hmm.
logging it into a tracking thing allows you to see the proof, well then hell yeah, like let's do it. It's all about the individual. Like, people always say, am I doing it right? You're doing it right if you're enjoying it and you're getting the results you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be restrictive. It doesn't have to be punishing. That's not what health is. That's some bullshit that somebody sold you to keep you coming back for more.
Yeah.
That's done at the gym. That's done at, I mean, if you've got an ailment or something that you're not happy with, there's a product for that in the health industry. They
Hmm.
want to sell you, they want to put you on that hook, and they want to keep you coming back for more.
Yeah.
Right. But the real healing comes from within. It comes from nobody heals you, you heal you.
Yeah.
Now, and once you've done that, one of my mentors, she said that to me, like, once you've healed yourself, you can heal anybody. And
Hmm.
that's what it's about. But I don't heal anybody. I just empower them and provide them with and help them with the tools, the skills, and the knowledge and the belief that they can do it. And when you believe, I mean, all those things have to come into play. It's the belief systems, it's the managing the stress, it's the eating right, moving, loving yourself, just showing up authentically and being you, man. And
Yeah.
it's so simple, it's stupid, but we try to make it hard with all these sexy things. Those are cool too, though. If that's your thing, let's do that. But I would just be clear on that's the route you want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a million
I
ways to
love,
get up the mountain. You just want to find your way.
yeah. I love the approach that you take um in your business because like that's how it should be. I've been taught here at Purdue in the sales program, like to obviously actively listen and to really get to the customer's problem. And it seems
Mm-hmm.
like you're doing that pretty efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's all about them. It shouldn't be about you selling the program and giving them all of this kind of stuff. I love that you are actually getting to the root cause of the problem and understanding what is going on in their life because one, that shows that you actually care about them, and two, like they're actually seeing results from it and are doing things that they enjoy and are actually getting better. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
think
really
about
cool.
what's the opposite of that? It's like I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you to do this stuff that sucks, that makes you unhappy, and yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to get results, but you're going to suffer, and you're going to get to the end of it. It's not about the outcome; it's about the
Yeah.
journey. It's about learning the lifestyle and learning about yourself and enjoying it and having a good time. And everybody around you should benefit. But if you're just getting your ass kicked and suffering, like that's not fun. That's a recipe for disaster. That means you're gonna that's why diets don't work, is because you eat these fewer calories, it lowers your metabolism, you lose weight. Now your resting metabolic rate, or the amount of calories that you can take in a certain day and not store fat, right? So storing would be accumulating more and more fat. So now,
Hmm.
because you've lowered your metabolic rate, you're going to go back to eating normal. You don't want to eat a diet the rest of your life. And so
Yeah.
you're gonna gain it all back. when
Hmm.
when my clients, I want them to eat more and more and more and more and more. I want you to eat as much food as you can without gaining weight. Or maybe you do need to gain weight, but that's what I see more than anything, is just people under eating and over exercising, and that is you're heading towards burnout and illness and injury.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is out of everything that you help people with, what is one thing that you will give the listeners a piece of advice for?
I would say, man, love yourself. Love yourself first. Love yourself unconditionally. I've went through some really tough times, and the last 3 or 4 years, like, I mean, it made me who I am. I wouldn't take it back. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And during that time, that's what I had to learn, is to love me, all parts of me, unconditionally. And when you can do
Yeah.
that, anything is possible. Where you are at is where you're supposed to be at. You're not supposed to be anywhere else. And whatever it is, it's an opportunity to love yourself. And then if you can love yourself, you can extend that love to anyone else. And the healing, whatever it is, the goals that you're after, you're going to attract them a whole lot faster. And that's I could say a diet, I could say an exercise. Man, start with yourself first. Love you, and the rest of that is easy.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's something that I kind of struggled with, like, honestly, for the past year, just because of all of my acne and stuff. I would honestly thought I don't know, I just was not confident in myself, did not love myself, and have honestly been trying to get that back and been working on it. But
Can I
I
give
love
you a
that.
little can I give you an exercise today?
Sure.
So this is called mirror work, and you're just gonna go look at yourself in the mirror, and look at yourself, get right up in there, get your eyes on there, and just look at your eye, look straight in your eyes, and just say, dude, I love you, man. You're awesome.
Uh-huh.
Nico, like, dude, you are the shit. Like, you are so awesome. I love you so much. Like, just do that. Just tell yourself how much you love yourself and how awesome you are, all the good things. Like, do that in the morning when you wake up. And you can even do, Mel Robbins does this, like, give yourself a high five. And it sounds stupid, but it's like, it's so good for your vagus nerve, which is, it keeps your body calm. And when you start your day with gratitude or appreciating yourself, you're going to do that the rest of the day. You're going to track that into your life the rest of the day. And that one little small thing, I've had grown men that I tell to do that, and then they don't talk to me for like 2 weeks, because it's hard, man. The hardest person to love is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you really listen to your thoughts, you're beating yourself up the most. But when you really embrace that, that's when the magic starts to happen.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear
Well,
that you're on that journey.
yeah, man. I will definitely implement the mirror strategy. And I'll let you know how it goes.
Do it, man.
You
Do it.
updated.
Sounds
But
good, bro. Let's stay in touch.
yeah, man. But those are all the questions that I have for you today, Mitch. I know that we're a little bit over time, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and taking time out of your day to talk about your story, your business. It's honestly really inspiring for me. And it's just been a pleasure discussing all of the great things that we talked today, your coaching program, all that kind of stuff, your story. I thought we had a great discussion. And to my listeners, I hope you all get something out of this episode. So please save and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and remember to win the day. Peace.